Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial on object-oriented programming in Java. Today's tutorial I'm going to talk about the inner classes. As you know that the name inner class itself defines what it is. It is basically a class defined within another class. So previously we have seen that we have only one class defined, and that was a public class. We are calling that the outer class, and that outer class can have any inner class defined. In that case, that class is called the inner class. There are a few types of inner classes. Let's look into that. So first we can define broadly those as non-static inner class, and then we have the static inner class. Again, the non-static inner class can be defined as nested inner class, then anonymous inner class, and then we have other one is called the method local inner class. And then the static inner class is a static member of the class. That means this class is also defined within another class, but this is a static class. So now let us look into each of the definition and features of these of all the inner classes. First of all, the nested inner class is a class defined in another class, can have access modifiers, and can access the instance variable of the outer class. Okay, so now if we are going to see that how we would like to make one of those inner classes, this is the syntax. The syntax is, let's say I have this outer class, and then I have over here, let's say int x, and then over here I have this inner class, and then I have here a simple method void m. Now this is called the inner class because you can see the class starts over here and then ends here, and then it has a void method, and the scope of this inner class is within the scope of the outer class. And we're saying that the inner class can also access the instance variable of the outer class. The syntax to access is this: outer dot inner r1 equals new outer dot new inner. Okay, so this is how we instantiate it: new outer dot new inner. And then if I would like to access this method, this is how I access r1 dot m1. Okay, now let's take an example, or let's look into the code that how we can implement it. If we go here, the nested inner class, and here you can see that I have, this is my outer class, and within that class I have defined these as a inner class because this is residing inside of the outer class. And then I have one instance variable, and then this is my driver class, and in the driver class I have a method which is the main method, and then I have instantiated it. This is very important because this is how we are going to access the inner class. Okay, so I have instantiated it, and then I am accessing the print method which is defined in the inner class. Now if I'm going to run it, let's see how it runs. and you can see hello from inner class. Now let's look into the anonymous inner class. So anonymous inner class is a class again, but in this case the name itself defines itself. So the name is anonymous, means there is no name of it. So there is no name of the inner class. Now so the anonymous inner class has no name. Okay, and the other important feature of it is that we are declaring and initializing at the same time. An important aspect, another one, is that we can use it for class overriding, or we can use that for method overriding. Okay, so now let's look into the example of the anonymous class. So here you can see that I have a class here that I have defined. It has one method, just a plain simple void method that is printing something, and then I have this class, public class anonymous inner, and within that you can see that I have instantiated implement anonymous new implement. Okay, and then right away I'm initializing it. Okay, so I'm implementing it. Okay, at the same time, declaring and initializing or implementation at the same time. So in here I'm doing what? I am overriding this method. This method is coming, this method is this class is a subclass of this class. So if you look into here super.show, it is immediately going to the superclass method, and then this is my reference, and with the reference I am now able to access it. So now if I'm going to run, first it is going to, when it is initializing, it is going to come here, it is going to invoke the superclass constructor, which is going to print this line, and then it is going to print this line. Okay, so now let's run it, and you can see that two statements are printed. Okay, so again, anonymous superclass. Anonymous class is a class where there is no name of the class. We are doing the declaration and initialization at the same time, and this is particularly important if you would like to override some of the superclass method. Now let's get into another type of inner class, and that is the method local inner class. And by definition, or by the name, you can understand that method local means the class is defined within a method. Okay, so if we go and try to look into the features, so method local class defined within a method. So let's say I have a class outer, and then I have one method void m, and then here I am declaring a class. Okay, so this class will be here. So this is what the method local is, that this class, okay, so let me class B, so this class is defined over here within the method itself. And the other thing is that this method local class has to be instantiated within method. Okay, now let's look at the code, that how we are going to implement it. So here you can see that I have defined the class method local inner, and then within the class I have two methods. One method is the main method and the other one is the outer method. Okay, and within that you can see that this is the scope of the method or the method body, and within that I have defined a class. This is called the method inner class I have defined as, and then within that I have just a print method, very simple void print method. Now you can see that this class is instantiated within the method itself. So if I look into here, so this instantiation is where outside of the class but within the method. Okay, so I have created what, a reference to that inner class, and then I am accessing with my reference to the method of the inner class. And then over here you can see that I have my main method and I have instantiated the outer class, and then I am accessing the outer class method. Over here it's coming. So whenever I'm invoking this method, the first thing it's come over here, it's instantiating this method, and whenever it's instantiating this method, I'm trying to access the method of that class, which is the print class, and then this is going to be printed. So now if I'm going to run this one, let's say run as, and you can see that it is printing from method inner, and this value is coming from here, so which is also a local variable to the method. Now let's move on to the other type of inner class, which is the static inner class. So if we look the definition, a static inner class is a nested class which is a static member of the outer class. It can be accessed without instantiating the outer class using other static members. And just like the static members, a static nested class does not have access to the instance variable and methods of the outer class. So this should be familiar to us, because we know that we cannot access a instance variable from a static method. The same rule applies because this is considered as a static member of the class. And the other thing about static inner class is that we can access the inner class just using the outer class name. So let's look at the code. In here I have this class defined, public class static inner, and then you can see that within that I have defined a static class. This is the static class, and then in that I have defined a method, inner method, and there is just a print statement over there. Now when I am instantiating it, you can see that I'm accessing the inner class using the outer class name. Okay, and then you take the reference and we are accessing the inner class method. Okay, so if I'm going to run it, let's say run as, and you can see that this is running. So one thing I'd like to mention here, that if we'd like to compare between this static inner and the nested inner, in case of nested, let's say we have this outer class and then we have a inner class, and then we have a void im method. For the nested, we are going to do what? Outer dot inner equals new outer dot new inner. Okay, and then this is the reference, and then r1 dot m. Okay, so this is good for nested inner class. But in case of static inner class, we are going to do this outer dot inner equals new outer dot inner. Okay, yeah, let's just confirm your inner and then r2 and then r2 dot m. Okay, so this is the difference because we are accessing, this is a static member and we are accessing a static member just directly with the class name, and in case of static inner class we have to just put the keyword static here. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope that you understand the concept of the inner classes. We use sometimes, many of the times we may need to use it, so we need to have a good understanding of the inner classes. Thank you.